All right, guys, another great episode of PFREI. I'm your host, Fuquan Bilal. Today we have Dwan Bent-Twyford. I said that right without getting tongue-tied. America's most sought-after real estate investor. Started as a broke single mom who had been fired from Denny's. Wow, this is going to be a great story to get into. Now she heads up Investors Edge University, a company that specializes in training new and seasoned investors in a wide range of real estate investment techniques through workshops, weekly webinars, and a member site coaching and seminars. She also have a podcast, the most Dwanderful real estate podcast ever. So we're going to talk a little bit about that also. But Dwan, welcome to the show. I really appreciate you coming on board. The first question I always ask my guests, we have to start with this question.
Okay.
Why are you passionate for real estate investing?
Yeah, there's a million answers I could give, but the long and short of it is when I started investing, I was 30 years old, an 8-month-old baby. My husband and I went through a divorce. And so I had this baby and I had no idea what to do. And I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And I met some people that were real estate investors. And I thought, okay, they buy houses, they fix them up. I mean, I could do that. And so the long and short of it is I did my first rehab and I made $22,000. Now I have barely out of high school, fired from Denny's, no formal education. And I thought, you know what, if a broke single mom can make $22,000, other people can do it too. And honest to God, I didn't even have 5 deals under my belt. And I was already telling people, you should try investing, because it literally changed my life. It changed my entire trajectory of my life. And so even my daughter's 32, and all these years later, I still feel really passionate about it because I know everyone can do it. And I saw what it did for my life and my family and my grandkids. And I see what it does for my students. And I feel like I just can't tell enough people about it.
That's awesome. So you've actually been through a lot of market cycles. So let's
talk
about
I have
that.
Sure been through a lot of market cycles.
What was the worst one?
Gosh darn, I don't even know. We knew 2008 was coming. We told our students, get out from underneath some of your rentals as far as the payments, pay things off, just get ready. The market's going to crash. So weirdly, we were prepared for that, but I think that one probably caught people off guard the most. But I feel that with the COVID and this snowball that we have going, I kind of feel like in a few years from now, when we look back, I feel like we're rolling into something pretty disastrous.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that. It's a dead cat bounce situation. Everybody thought that, when COVID hit, it was, doomsday, right? Everyone was scared, and it just created this crazy demand. I know my market here in New Jersey is insanity.
Same here. People buying houses like they're going out of style.
Yeah, who knows how long this is going to last? But what I like about this time around versus last time around, at least for me, I can say, is that I feel as though I'm more prepared because I'm tied into a network. And similar to what you do, I have coaches and I have mentors, and I'm a part of masterminds. And I think that that's very important. And that's why I wanted to have you on the show to kind of talk about the value add that you do to your students and the programs that you have, because I think it's important. A lot of people look at, coaches and masterminds as, they're trying to sell me stuff and everything else, but you're really tapping into the experience of that person, right? That person has 15, 20, 30 years or whatever amount of years of experience, where you're able just to, I hate to use the word pick their brain. I just hate when people say, hey, let me pick your brain, where you're actually able to tap in to that person's experience and get all the value from them, right? So all the mistakes that they made, they can kind of, keep the guardrails and show you what not to do and what you should be doing, what you should be paying attention to.
And it's funny, Fuquan, I could not agree with you more, because I did not have anyone to help me. I literally went to lunch with some people and they said, hey, we rehab houses. Now I was so naive and I knew nothing about real estate. I was not an agent, nothing. So my naive brain translated that to, I decorate houses and then I sell them. So I was like, oh, I love to decorate. I'm a great decorator. Here's my house right here. It's decorated beautifully. I'm going to decorate houses for a living. I had not a clue the difference between decorating and rehabbing, which, as you know, I'm not gonna like. So I was down there every day at Home Depot, taking those classes, learning how to lay tile and putting together cabinets at night when my daughter was sleeping, because I really thought in my mind I was just going to decorate and sell. And it's not at all the same. And I was in South Florida when I started. They didn't have a RIA group for like the first 4 years I was in business. So I didn't have any people or mentors or any podcasts. I mean, who would have heard of a podcast 30 years ago? I had nothing. And I really did trial and error, seat in my pants, made a cajillion mistakes. And even now, like you, I'm in masterminds, I'm with other people, because you can never know all of it. And being plugged in does, first of all, for my students, I make sure they don't make any dumb mistakes. It's like, hey, listen, I've made all of them, so you run all your deals by me first. So no dumb mistakes on Dwan's watch. But staying plugged in is really important too, because I feel like this COVID thing, I mean, I still feel like it's going to be, I just feel like there's a little unforeseen train wreck coming up here. But having so many people like you and plugged in, and having people to bounce ideas, and everyone's talking about what's happening in this state, that state, that state, I think it's helping us navigate better. Because 2008 was just like,
boom, yeah.
just went off on the real estate market, you know?
Yeah.
It was great. I knew it was coming, but I didn't even think it was going to be that bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's a wake-up call for all of us, and there's a lot to be learned from that. I mean, I'm grateful that that happened to me, because it made me discover more of who I am and made me fight harder to become the person I am today. I always say that. But yeah, let's talk about a little bit about the journey in the podcast and everything else. What are you now that you've been in this space for 30 years? Are you just like in give back mode, being a mentor? Are you still doing deals? What does that look like? Are you doing joint ventures, collaborating with other people?
Okay, so everything. So my husband, Bill Twyford, he also has been investing. Ironically, we met at a weekend seminar, and so we both have been investing about the same amount of time. He was a real estate agent first. So, it's like we've rehabbed everything. We've built things from scratch. Like, how you've like done everything. So 2 years ago, we were back for one of Bill's high school reunions in Clinton, Iowa. And it's a little, I don't know if you're familiar. It's a little tiny, like 3 blocks by 3 blocks on the Mississippi River. It's one of those little towns that just got left by time.
Yeah.
And so the city is doing like this re-beautification program. So we're like, well, so tell us about it. We meet with the Downtown Coalition. They've got money for this, grants for that, grants. It's all opportunity zone. And we're like, we should just like fix up this town. That would be fun. So when I think about it and I say it out loud, I'm like, oh my God. In the last 2 years, we bought 14 buildings in a little 3 block this way, 3 block this way. And we're rehabbing all these buildings, and we're putting in little cute businesses, and you can see like the town is turning around. People are antique shopping and eating out on the sidewalks and doing stuff like that. So I was like, oh my, I think we're flipping a town.
Yeah.
It's kind of where I'm at right now.
It sounds like.
It's really, but we're keeping them all. Like that is definitely our retirement. So we've got buildings that are just commercial. We've got buildings that have commercial downstairs, apartments on the 2nd floor, businesses on the 3rd floor. We've got apartments. The one we just bought is a old car garage with 20-unit storage units. So I'm working on the storage units. And I didn't even know what happened. We were just like going to buy a building. And then we were going to buy like a 2nd building. And what happened? Here's what happened. There's a lot of little old ladies in Clinton, Iowa that have owned buildings, and they're all like 78, 79, 80. The husbands have passed, and they're like, listen, I don't have the money or the time to keep up with these buildings anymore. I've owned them for decades. I heard that you're buying a building. You bought one from the first one from my friend. I want to sell you mine. So somehow the little like Rotary Club of the women started talking, and they all called us. Like, listen, will you take my building? Will you take my building? I have 3. Will you take those 3? I'm like, Bill, we got to stop buying buildings, man. And then the last woman, Carol, she's like, listen, I have 3. You got to take all 3. They're rented for 20 years. Like, just keep them. She's like, no, I'm moving out of Clinton. I'm going to Florida. All of us, we're moving to the villages in Florida. Nobody wants to come back. And so literally from word of mouth, from all these cute little old ladies, we have acquired 14 buildings.
That's an amazing story. You guys should be running for mayor soon of the town.
Well, now the mayor's like our best friend now. He's like, well, you basically own, you're the largest building owner in the entire little city. So now like the mayor, I don't know, like the mayor takes us out, and we go on the radio and all this stuff happens. It's like, look, we just want to fix these buildings up. We want to bring the downtown back and make it like that cute little antique destination town. And, just like bring life back to it. And I don't even know what the heck happened. We were just going to buy these first 2 little buildings, and the lady just calling.
Yeah, and wonder with 14. But how has COVID affected that? Because you said some mixed use stuff with businesses that are like restaurants and everything else. I mean, you guys didn't see that coming. The Black Swan event, boom, just hit. How has that affected, with anything from your students that you're coaching or anything else? Let's talk about that, bring it up to real time.
Yeah.
And maybe challenges.
Our little town, they really never made us close down, but we did, like for the clothing boutique and the antique mall, we did online shopping, curbside delivery. We just turned it around and made it through all of that. We did not qualify for any government programs. I'm like, how do I have this many buildings and businesses? But they were new, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know, God just like held us through and got us through it all. But we're so insanely busy right now. We have hundreds of people a day coming through our stores. I just think like people just want to be out.
Yeah.
I think people are
tired
tired
of being cooped up. Yeah.
And my little antique mall, it's like 100 people a day are coming in there. Like, I don't even know where they all came from. They're just like, we heard you're open. Across the river in Iowa, and across the bridge is
all closed down.
Right on the river, and Illinois is still very much shut down. So people like drive over the bridge and come into the new state, and they can be out and they can be free.
Yeah.
So it weirdly, as you'd think it would affect those little businesses, I think just being on this side of the bridge versus that side of the bridge, this is open and that's not.
Yeah, because the spike. We're seeing that happen in a lot of the smaller markets. Even in states like Pennsylvania, shut down. People had to drive over to Delaware to get that freedom in the land of the free. But yeah, that's pretty cool. So the podcast, let's talk about that a little bit.
My podcast. I'm going to tell you what, I don't think I've ever had so much fun as I'm having doing podcasts. A techie, I'm not a big techie person. So when I first started listening, I thought, wow, these podcasts are great. I'm listening and listening. I thought, I could do that. That'd be fun because, I'm like I said, it's my birthday. It's my birthday this week. It's my birthday month.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
I'm turning 62.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing.
The mirror is like, how did that happen? But I'm feeling good. I was like, hey, I'm 62. I think I'm crazy. I love my pink hair. It's like if I'm never going to be crazy, it's got to be this decade. Because at 70, I'll be like the senile old lady. And my 60s, I can be like that crazy, eccentric, off the wall lady. So if I'm never going to be the crazy lady, it's got to be now.
Oh man,
and I see you put some pink on your hair there.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to do that.
So that's kind of the deal about that. And so we just keep, even still now, we did for the podcast. So I decided to start it 2 years ago when I turned 60. Well, this will be fun. I'll do a podcast. Well, I did not realize exactly how much work they really are. Like doing a podcast and the show notes and the music and guests. And it's like, I made myself a new job.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, from the value add perspective,
I love it.
You get to connect with people and really share your experience with people. I get a lot out of it. I learn a lot too from the guests that,
Me
I
too.
interview, little things that I'm like, oh wow, let me take a note of that, and I kind of play them back and just keep adding things to my business model. So I find it very valuable. I'm like almost a student again when I do these podcasts.
Yeah, it's
So
funny you said that because when I interview people, I always end up with a whole page of notes because they'll say some little something, and I'm like, that's an itty bitty little detail. I did not know that. That's really interesting. So
mhm,
I find myself asking a lot of questions that I'm curious about, and I think it helps me stay, sharper and smarter for my students. And of course, I'm a big ham, so I love to be interviewed and also to interview other people. But I really am having so much fun. I told my husband, I said, we've done so many live seminars and so many live events. I'm having so much fun podcasting.
mhm.
This
Yeah,
is like the most fun thing
I think you
for
reach more
me
audience too.
personally I've ever done in real estate.
I think you reach more of an audience. You have more coverage, like you reach more people, more downloads, and everything else. So the topics that are you guys like focused on the niche topics, or are you just broad real estate topics? Are you talking about wholesaling, fix and flip, seller financing? What are some of the topics you guys cover on the podcast?
So kind of what I do for Quan is I do, my husband doesn't do it with me. He's Mr. OCD, ADD, all the A's and the D's and all the things like that. He has all of them. So for him to sit here for even 30 minutes, he'd just be like, ah. So I was like, listen, I want to do this myself. So we get on my podcast at the beginning of every show. We have drinks with Dwan, so everybody has like something to drink, and we just kind of talk. But I kind of lay it out. I guess in like little mini seasons. So like this one month we might talk about things about rehabbing, and the next month maybe flipping, and the next month maybe commercial. And so I actually just started interviewing people. So I'd love to have you on my show as a guest.
Oh, for
All the
sure.
way up until now, I am the show. I talk, I teach, I train. We cover topics, and I kind of try to go through things. Like example, if flipping is the topic of the month, I try to go through things in the actual chronological order of how that's going to happen for somebody, what that looks like, and I teach people just the little detailed things that nobody does, like the scripts and what to say and what to do when you're sitting with a homeowner and they start crying and what do you do, and and so this month, and well, I know this will be airing a little bit later, but in the month of February, I started a new session. I'm adding a second session during the week called Inside the Minds of Today's Millionaires. And I'm interviewing all kinds of people just like you and trying to, like find out what's in our head and what is it about us that makes us go to the next level when somebody else can't. And how do we like open that up and expose that to the world?
I love it.
So I'm having really fun. I've done a lot. I've done about 10 interviews getting ready for that. And I'd love to have you on as a guest. Absolutely love to. And
Done.
it has been so much fun because I got to tell you, when you really start talking to people just about what's in their head, but not about real estate, there are just some funny people out there.
Yeah.
Just funny, good, smart people. And when I hear different people's stories about, well, how did you go from here to here? Everyone's reason is so different.
Yeah, that's good that it's really connecting with the person and getting out of them, like you said, not just real estate, what's their mindset is like, what type of rituals they have, what are some of the things that they do to make them who they are,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's the foundation of what's happening inside, which create what everybody sees on the outside. So that's really great. I mean, I
It is.
like how you said that, because mine are all over the place. I mean, today we might be talking about raising money. This week we might talk about wholesaling. Next week we're talking about multifamily. So I like that structure where you go like a whole month on just one topic. And also, I also played with I had the thought of also playing with the podcast a little bit of just me by myself. But I started off interviewing guests and just getting a different perspective from different people. But I guess,
You're interesting. You're very handsome.
thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. You are. I think you are. Listen, I call it what I see it, man. And I mean, I don't know. And maybe that's just my a little bit of narcissism because I think you got to have some to be like a national major speaker, written 5 books, speaking on stages. I think we have to have a little bit of maybe overly self confidence about ourselves. But I thought I can teach them everything they need to know. But then I thought, well, but it's good to hear another voice. And so I find now, of course, I just started doing this, but I find that having one, like a little mini season where I teach what I learn and I know, and then interviewing other people, I feel like that's going to be a really great mix for me and something for you to think about because you're interesting and easy to look at. And I think people would like hearing what you personally have to say too.
Done. I'm gonna do it.
It's fun. So I did, so I started off like every week was random. And then I tried like 3 months at a time. It's like way too long to talk about one topic, especially if the person's uninterested. So then I did a month, 1 month, different topic every month. And I like it. And my listeners clearly like it because my numbers went way up. And so I fun to kind of do a little bit of a deep dive and help people understand, I mean, provided, of course, you're a kick-ass real estate investor, you got to be able to back that up.
Yeah, for sure.
And now I'm like, I bought a town. So it's like, okay, so let's talk about buying towns. Oh, that's the craziest thing.
Yeah, I'm actually looking some of the areas that I'm looking at to invest in now, my personal investments. So I raise capital in the fund, and we have a strategic way of doing things, and we have a certain buy box, certain criteria we could buy. But personally, I'm transitioning now into a multifamily, and I'm looking at areas because I'm from North New Jersey. It's really, it's a lot of blighted properties and really low income area. So it gives me the feeling of importance to go back to these areas, revitalize them, put the properties back on the tax roll, and give the people in those towns a better place to live. So we're talking C-class properties, C-class areas. So I'm now looking at areas like Tennessee, Ohio, Alabama, where you can essentially buy a town, right? Properties are like 15,000.
You can.
20,000 is like a candy shop. So you can make a difference by going in that town and revitalizing the town and all these vacant properties. When I drive through the area, I'm like, wow, it's like people are afraid to invest in those areas, but somebody got to do it, right? So.
And you know what? It's funny you mentioned Ohio. I'm actually from Ohio. And so my husband and I, we have 2 homes. We're very blessed. We have this house here in Florida. We have a house in Colorado. And he's from Iowa. So like I said, we went back to a high school reunion. We saw the town. Then like 5 years later, it was still the same. 5 years later, it was still the same. But I mean, they got to be doing something with this town. These buildings are going to start falling in on the street. So the things and for anyone listening, if you want to buy or invest, look in Google opportunity zones because they're everywhere. And with the opportunity zones, there's all kinds of crazy amounts of grant money, so you never owe it back. And if you keep the building or the property for 10 years, you don't have to pay capital gains. So and even in like single family home areas, like in my little area of Clinton, there's like 3 streets off the downtown. Those little houses are all opportunity zones. So my kids are buying rentals there.
That's a beautiful thing.
There's pockets all over the place. And Tennessee my family is from Tennessee, actually. My mom, dad, grandparents, everybody's from Tennessee. I was raised in Ohio. So I spent my entire life going back and forth from Ohio to Tennessee. Every vacation, Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving, summer. And those are 2 of my favorite places.
Yeah, you know what was amazing for me to see that East Cleveland in Ohio was not an opportunity zone. That broke my heart.
Really?
And it was crazy. It's so many. That's like maybe number one. Like it's like they have so many multifamily projects and housing. And when I researched it, I was like, wow, I think it's political. They just didn't make the censor or whatever they did to figure out which towns or cities in Ohio would make it. And I think it was a political move. I don't really want to touch too much into it because I don't know much about it. But when I looked at the track, it wasn't there. And I was like, wow, this should have been number 1 on the list. Right? Yeah. But they have the land bank, and they do have something now that they're putting together for developers to come in and do certain things. But I don't want to.
That's a good idea. My dad still lives in Dayton, Ohio. And back in like the 70s, 80s, 90s, Dayton was just nothing but factories. Millions of all the cars, General Motors, all the factories, and they all closed. And I mean, it looks like a war zone around a lot of Dayton right now. But I know, like personally, just from my parents living there, that a lot of the Japanese companies have bought a lot of these factories, and they're making like windshields and making this and this and this. And so, and I see them working. When I go there, I see everybody working and everything's like they're using the factories for other things besides cars and building different things. And so I feel like around the Dayton area, I feel like that's going to make a major comeback because that was like a hot little area when General Motors and everything was like hopping. And then it's, like a ghost town. But I physically see all the work and the things that are going on, and I see the change in some of the neighborhoods. And I feel like my husband and I are actually looking around up there. It's like, oh, that might not be a bad area to own a couple things too.
Yeah,
So,
that's awesome.
Cleveland surprises me because, it's got a lot going on. Cleveland's got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
That's awesome. Oh man, so let's tell the listeners where they can find you at. Shout your podcast again if you got a YouTube channel or anywhere where they can find you. I really appreciate you coming on the show and having this little talk with me. It's like I like when the interviews are we just kicking it, right? It's not like so pressed and everything else. It just feels great to conversate with you and learn a little bit more about what you're doing and everything. So let's tell the listeners where they can find you and talk a little, shout your podcast out, YouTube channel, Instagram, whatever you got.
Also, my website is dwanderful.com. So DWAN, Dwanderful, like, wonderful, but Dwanderful. So dwanderful.com, YouTube, Facebook, everything is at Dwanderful. And then my YouTube channel is a little more difficult because you have to go and type in Dwan Bent-Twyford. So they can throw all those names together. They can find me. And I've got, 600 videos on YouTube.
Wow.
Crazy videos. I've got so many videos on YouTube. It's like I have my own TV channel over there.
Wow. That's inspiring.
And, I like interviews like this too. A lot of people ask me to send questions. I'm like, oh, I hate to send questions because I feel like it's too robotic. I like just kicking it and just, hey, what's up? Let's get to know each other. Let's talk. Let's talk about real estate. Because, we have that one common bond always.
Yeah, for sure. Hey guys, this is another great episode. Dwan Bent-Twyford. You see, it's a tongue twister. Dwan.
Hey, so is your name.
I know. The queen, also known as the queen of short sales. Now I got a tongue twist on that. Short sales. And I don't even have my Invisalign in, and I'm still tongue twisted. Thanks for coming to the show. I really appreciate it, guys. Another great episode. PFREI, Passion for Real Estate Investing. I'm your host, Fuquan Bilal. Be sure to check us out on all of the major podcast stations, YouTube, Instagram, and all that good stuff. Thanks, Dwan. I really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing your knowledge and experience.
Guys, God bless you guys. Thanks for having me on today.
Absolutely, guys. Make sure you check out those podcasts. I'm sure they'll be exciting and fun to watch.